Dallas makes their pick and gets Tyler Smith. We're going to check in with Locked On Cowboys. Landon McCool, consensus here, the Cowboys should have gone this route. Were you surprised they actually did?
I think I'm a little bit surprised about where Tyler Smith was taken. I think, he was a guy that the Cowboys, or at least a lot of us, were looking at as potential, situation of a trade up, maybe from 56.
Mm-hmm.
I think the board fell the way it did in a really terrible way for the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they decided once they couldn't trade back, that Tyler Smith was probably a good solution. He kind of fits two needs, a tackle of the future and then a guy that you hope can play maybe some left guard for you right away. So I think it made some sense, but I don't think it was necessarily their plan A.
Certainly a weird draft. I think everybody's boards are getting a little mixed up. How much of this is, seeing the Eagles loading up on defense, they really got to protect Dak and do what they can to keep him upright?
I'm sure that, that they were certainly thinking that as the draft was going on, but I think that this was likely an offensive lineman, or a wide receiver, depending on how it fell, no matter what. I mean, I think they would have taken somebody outrageous if they had fallen, but I think the way that the board fell, most of the wide receivers that you wanted to take in the first round are gone. And frankly, two of the guards that you thought would definitely be there, or at least one of the two guards that you thought would be there, were taken early. So I think Tyler Smith was one of those guys, along with Penning, that they thought they could draft as a tackle of the future. They could play inside for a little while until Tyron Smith retires. And now you've got two Ty Smiths on the left side of your offensive line, hopefully to protect yourself against some of those Eagles and Giants defensive linemen.
Definitely hitting the spots and doing the best they can with their spot in this draft. Thank you for joining us, Landon. So Cowboys make that selection in Tyler Smith. We're going to go toss it back to you, Peter, and see what you guys think of it.
Isaiah, we were talking about this as we were coming out here, as they were doing that interview. This is a potential to have him play next to Tyron Smith, to learn the craft, and then eventually be the heir apparent to Tyron Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyron Smith, there's always an issue with Tyron. He's a dominant offensive presence. He's a man that you put out there on the island. It doesn't matter who you line up outside of him. He's probably going to put the E-Hondas on him and shut him down. But the issue with Tyron Smith is over the past 4 or 5 years, he's missed at least 3 games per year. So you have somebody that you can have come in and fit that need. One of the areas that people were kind of questioning about the Cowboys was the center. They drafted Tyler Biadasz a couple years ago, and he hasn't really came to who they want him to be, but he hasn't done a bad enough job to where he needs to be replaced. So it's like, how can we put somebody next to him to really shore that up? Because there happens to be another Pro Bowler on the opposite side of him. So how can we put 2 guys on each side of him that can really kind of sandwich him and really secure him, and then have Tyron on the outside that could then mentor this young man? And when Tyron decides to hang it up, then he can just go ahead and bump out there and be your starting left tackle.